Good evening everyone. If you don't know, you should know. My name is Rameez and I am a filmmaker and a film critic. And today we're reviewing a much maligned show online and by critics, Space Force. Space Force is a 10-part show on Netflix, brought to you by Steve Carell and Greg Daniels. Greg Daniels is a man who should be more known around the world. He is a household name in the television when it comes to talking about workplace comedies. The Simpsons might have been created by Matt Groening, but some of the best episodes came under Greg Daniels' leadership. He's also known as one of the producers of one of my favorite shows of all time, The Office. Greg Daniels created that, and I believe he's also been attached to Community and Parks and Rec as well. Greg Daniels' mind and execution on breaking down tropes of everyday life are so spot on and relatable. He is the man behind many of the episodes of The Simpsons. He was a head producer of The Office, and he also created the new show, which I have yet to watch, Upload. With a man like that at the helm of this show, and when you got Steve Carell as your star, what could go wrong? This show should deliver, and deliver it does. I was quite surprised and shocked as to seeing all the critic reactions towards the show. I mean, what were you guys expecting? The show is a workplace comedy with overtones of satire, treated as if a light version of that British TV show, The Thick of It. Steve Carell is Mark Naird, a decorated army general who is tasked with leading a newly created branch of the army called Space Force. Space Force does exist in real life, by the way. Donald Trump created it about a few years ago. And that is what the show does. The show riffs on the current political climate, the news cycle of today, and the leader of the free world. They don't necessarily implicitly say that they're talking about Donald Trump, but they're talking about Donald Trump. I mean, what other president tweets as much? And when it comes to the satire of those subjects, it hits the nail on the head. Some of the jokes land, some of them don't. But then again, that's comedy. Comedy doesn't form to everyone's taste. Everyone has a different taste in comedy. But the best thing about this show, which makes you want to keep watching it and makes you want to have a season 2 of it, is what makes us keep coming back to The Office and The Simpsons, at least the first 10 seasons of The Simpsons. The heart. This show is littered with some very nice feel-good moments. Very much like The Office, I don't know if you guys noticed, but almost every episode of The Office ended on a happy note. There's always got to be positivity at the end, so there are a lot of trademarks which carry over from The Office. However, it's a very different show. Whereas The Office was a satire set as a mockumentary, there were limited locations in which they could work from, which helped the style of the show. There was the set of The Office, there was Michael's office, there was the conference room, there was the annex. So limited sets, but that's where the writing shone, which worked out for the show, making both the American and British versions masterpieces. It was all about the characters. Space Force, on the other hand, is a massive budgeted show. The CGI is mind-blowing on this show, and something you won't see in other shows. The sets, the locations, and the camera work is of real finesse over here. I really want to know what lenses they were using to shoot this, because they're so goddamn sharp and crisp. It felt like you were watching a 10-hour movie instead of a TV show. TV show camera work and lighting is done for speed. You're not really looking forward to get the best image, but Space Force gives you some fantastic looking images, which does give it a big time feel, but at certain times it does end up feeling overproduced. I mean, I don't need to see John Malkovich in a wide angle close-up. Even with all that flash, it's still a bit confusing to get a hang of all the sets and the locale of the offices and the conference rooms and all that, because everything is so clean and crisp and nice. Set design 101, Star Wars, one of the best examples of set design ever. Everything looked so believable. Do you know why? Because everything looked lived in. Han Solo's ship was dirty, messy. You know, these aren't perfect people, but Space Force, everyone's perfect. You know, the armies run with no issues at all. Everything's clean and crisp and all that stuff. In Space Force, it's all a bit too clean cut. Steve Carell is great, as we've come to expect from him nowadays. Steve Carell, there was a time where he wanted to do some serious stuff. I don't know why he stopped. He was really great and shocking in Foxcatcher. But, you know, it's good that he's back to doing his bread and butter. But he does go an extra step with this show as well. Lisa Kudrow's character is a bit of a waste, but it's probably because they have more to do with their next season. She does have a nice, cute, and believable on-screen presence with Steve Carell, but it's a bit sad that we didn't get to see them do a whole lot. But again, next season. Some of the little touches which make the season so memorable. Steve Carell has to juggle two crybabies. One of them is his daughter, and one of them is the president. And there are two episodes which make him much more believable as a general. Steve Carell playing a general might be off-putting to a lot of people, but they do put in that work to make him a bit more believable. One when he scolds his daughter to do a mega chore of cleaning the kitchen counter, only to come back and see that it's still unfinished. The show uses its workplace comedy angle to riff about the social and geopolitical things going on in the world today. Now the army has to worry about what POTUS might say on Twitter and get them all into trouble, because quite frankly, everything is under the microscope today. Everyone has so much access to social media that they can say something which could torpedo your campaign. So it does a good job of exploring that angle. And Nerd's character acts as a remnant of the old times, still struggling to fit in today. Along with all the army generals, there's a fantastic scene which is a court hearing in which John Malkovich and Carell work together as someone who works for the country would. To show, yeah, the army is pretty heavily funded, yeah, sure. But some of the projects they work on go beyond just buying tanks, guns, and ammunition. And this is true for the real US Army as well. They have contracts with these big science companies, pharma companies and all. Remember that big fraud company called Theranos with Elizabeth Holmes, I believe? They were pitching was, with a drop of your blood, they would be able to test you for all your problems and all that stuff. So that was actually an ongoing project with the army where they wanted to deploy those machines in the war zone. So stuff like that does happen, and it's quite smart of Space Force to show that side of the army as well. It acts as a good promotion of the US Army as well. And that's all the funny stuff which makes you want a Space Force Season 2. Even though the show got thrashed by everyone online and all that, it's not that bad, guys. And there will definitely be a Season 2. I mean, Steve Carell, John Malkovich, you don't just give them one season, and Greg Daniels, you give them more. Space Force is a really good show, but please, for the love of God, don't go in expecting The Office. I know, Steve Carell and Michael Scott are really inseparable by this time. Trust me. But it is a show which is worth your time, and with that being said, I am giving Space Force a final rating of 4 out of 5. Go watch this show, people. It'll take your mind off this terrible quarantine. Anyway, people, thank you again for watching. My name is Rameez Khan, and I am going through a heat wave right now. Look at all this sweat. But thanks again for watching. I got off topic. I will see you again soon.